There is one truth I only dared to face very late in life. Not when I was young, not when I was failing, but when I started avoiding my own emotions. We often think pain is something to overcome, but very few people tell you this. The pain you keep avoiding is the life you are missing. I lived like that for many years, busy, efficient, making no obvious mistakes, and completely empty inside. Not because I had nothing, but because I felt nothing. Maybe you are like me. You wake up every morning and do what needs to be done. But somewhere inside, there is an emptiness you cannot name. You call it tiredness. You call it stress. You call it, maybe I am just not trying hard enough. But deeper than that, it is a pain you have never touched. I am not talking about big tragedies, not loss, not disasters, but very small pains that last a long time. The feeling of being ignored, the feeling of not being enough, the feeling of living without knowing where you're going. We become very good at avoiding these feelings through work, through entertainment, through staying busy all the time. But the more you avoid them, the more they stay, quietly, patiently. And one day you realize you have lived for a long time, but you have never truly lived. I grew up in a place where emotions were not important. No one said it out loud, but everyone understood. Men were not allowed to be weak. If you were sad, you held it in. If you were afraid, you stayed silent. If you were hurt, you endured it. And I did exactly that. Very well. I learned to swallow everything inside. I learned to smile when I was not okay. I learned to say, I'm fine, when everything inside was falling apart. At that time, I thought I was strong. Now I see I was just numb. No one teaches us how to sit with pain. They only teach us how to run away from it. When you fail, you must stand up immediately. When you feel sad, you must think positively. When you feel empty, you must fill it with something. But have you noticed all the advice is about moving forward? No one asks, how do you feel right now? I remember clearly the first time I truly stopped, not because I was enlightened, but because I was exhausted. I had achieved the things I once dreamed of. The job was fine, the income was fine. From the outside, life looked fine. But every night, when everything was quiet, I felt like an empty room, fully furnished, but without warmth. I started asking a dangerous question. If this is the life I worked so hard for, then why do I still feel something is missing? That question hurt, and I tried to avoid it. I worked more, I stayed busier, I avoided being alone. But the more I avoided it, the clearer it became, like a soft knock on the door. That never stopped. We often think avoiding pain is smart. But no one tells you the price of doing that. The price is slowly losing connection with yourself. You no longer know what you truly like. You no longer know what truly makes you sad. You live by habits, by roles, by things you should do. And day by day, you live a safe life, but not a living one. I have met many people like this, in their 30s, in their 40s, even in their 50s. They are not failures. They simply never allowed themselves to face the truth, to face the fear that says, if I stop, I will see that I am empty. And that fear keeps them frozen. There are pains that never scream. They do not knock you down right away. They just stay there, quietly. And because of that, they are dangerous. Big pains are easy to see. Loss, breakups, failure. Other people notice them and ask how you are. But there is a kind of pain no one notices, not even you, because you have lived with it for too long. It is the pain of things never said out loud, the thoughts you swallow, the feelings you push away because they are inconvenient, unnecessary, or not the right time. You wanted to say, "I'm not okay," but you didn't, because you didn't want to bother anyone. You wanted to say, "I don't want to live like this," but you stayed silent because you were afraid of being judged. And every time you did that, you learned one very wrong lesson. Your feelings do not matter. I lived like that for many years, not because I didn't know I was sad, but because I did not allow myself to be sad. I thought sadness meant weakness, lack of strength, something that had to be fixed quickly. But feelings do not disappear when you ignore them. They just move somewhere else. What you do not say out loud goes into your body, into the way you breathe, into the way you sleep, into how you react to very small things. You become more irritable, more tired, more disconnected from life, and you don't know why. You think the problem is your job, other people, your situation. But the truth is, the problem is with yourself, with the part inside you that has been ignored for too long. I once met a man who was 10 years older than me. He had everything society calls success. But when we sat down, he said very quietly, "I don't remember the last time I cried." Not because he was strong, but because he forgot how to feel. He was afraid that if he started feeling again, everything would come out at once, and he wasn't sure he could handle it. We are not afraid of pain itself. We are afraid of what will happen if we truly face it. Afraid we have lived the wrong way for too long. Afraid we have missed too much. Afraid that if we take off the strong mask, there will be nothing inside, and that fear keeps us stuck. Suppressed emotions do not die. They accumulate every time you say, "I'm fine," when you are not. Every time you laugh it off when your heart feels heavy, you place another brick on the wall inside you. At first, that wall helps you survive. Later, it prevents you from living. You can no longer feel deep joy because you locked the door to sadness. And those two always come together. You cannot choose to feel only half of life. Either you open yourself to everything, or you feel nothing at all. There is a truth few people accept. The people who seem okay the most are often the ones who abandon their feelings the earliest. They don't cry, they don't complain, they don't bother anyone, but they also don't know who they are when they are not busy. They don't know what they want without expectations. They don't know why they are living, and one day, everything stops. It may be a very normal evening, a day when nothing special happens. But you sit there and realize you feel nothing. Not happy, not sad, just empty. That is not peace. That is numbness. We are not afraid of being alone. We are afraid of being alone with ourselves. There is a big difference between the two. You can be in a crowd and still avoid yourself. You can stay busy all day and never touch what is inside. We fill every empty space with noise, sounds, screens, conversations that go nowhere, not because we like it, but because when it becomes quiet, everything starts to surface. Questions with no answers, feelings that were ignored, Pains you promised yourself you would deal with later. But later never comes. There is only now, and now is what you keep avoiding. I clearly remember evenings when I tried not to go home early, not because home was cold, but because when I was alone, I did not know what I would have to face. Sometimes I sat down without my phone, without music, just a few minutes, and my chest felt heavy. No clear reason, no specific memory, just a deep sense of emptiness. And my first reaction was to run, to escape that feeling, to escape the truth that I was not okay. We are taught to be strong, but no one teaches us that sometimes strength is staying and not running. There is something very ironic. The more you avoid being alone, the more lonely you become, because you have never truly met yourself. You have never listened to what is speaking inside you. You only live on the surface, in roles, in images others see. But underneath, there is another person waiting, not to blame you, but to be acknowledged. Pain does not ask you to fix it right away. It only wants to be seen, like a child who is left alone. It does not need advice. It only needs you to sit down and say, "Yes, I see you." We fear silence because silence does not lie. It does not hide anything. It does not distract you. In silence, you cannot pretend you are okay. You cannot perform. And that scares us, because if we remove the mask, we don't know who we are. But the truth is, you don't need to know right away. You only need to stay. Stay with the discomfort. Stay with the confusion. Stay with the pain that has no name, no analysis, no judgment, no attempt to make it disappear. Just stay. I used to think that if I stayed still, everything would collapse. But it didn't. There was no disaster, no ending. There were tears, and after that, lightness. Not because the problem disappeared, but because I stopped running. When you dare to stay with pain, it begins to change shape. It is no longer a threat. It becomes a signal, a reminder that you are still alive and still able to feel. In the next part, I will talk about the real cost of living in avoidance. Not immediately, but quietly, year after year. And why, at some point, you will be forced to face it, whether you want to or not. The cost of avoidance does not arrive immediately. If it did, we would probably stop much earlier. It comes slowly, quietly, and very patiently. You do not wake up one day feeling lost. You slowly lose interest, lose motivation, lose connection. Things that once moved you become habits. Goals that once pushed you forward turn into burdens, and you don't know why. I once thought I was tired because I worked too much. But when I rested, I was still tired. I thought I was bored because of my environment. But when I changed it, I was still empty. The problem was not outside. It was in what I never allowed myself to feel. Every time you avoid a difficult conversation, every time you stay silent instead of being honest, every time you tell yourself it's fine, you are taking on debt. Not money, but life energy. And every debt eventually must be paid. That cost may be a relationship slowly growing cold. No arguments, no breakup, just no truth. Two people stay together, but they no longer touch each other because both are avoiding what needs to be said. Or the cost may be a job you don't hate, but don't love either. You stay because it is safe, because it is stable. And year by year, you trade your youth for familiarity. No one forces you. You choose it. Some people only realize this cost when the body starts to speak. Sleepless nights, long-term exhaustion, a feeling of emptiness with no clear reason. The body does not know how to lie. It only says what you refuse to hear. You can lie to others. You can lie to yourself, but you cannot lie to the life inside you. The most painful thing is not failure. It is living a life you never fully stepped into, never loving with your whole heart, never saying what truly matters, never choosing the path that makes your heart tremble. You choose safety and trade it for aliveness. One day, you will look back and ask yourself, if I had not been afraid, how different would my life have been? That question hurts because there is no answer, only regret. But there is still something important. The moment you realize you are avoiding is the moment change becomes possible. Not through big decisions, but through very small choices. Staying a little longer with discomfort, speaking the truth one more time, not running one more step. The pain does not disappear, but it starts to guide you. The moment you stop running, there are no fireworks, no bright light, only silence and a strange feeling. You are no longer ahead of yourself. The first time I truly sat still, I did not feel stronger. I felt exposed. No story to tell, no role to hold on to, just me and the emotions I had left behind. Fear, sadness, tiredness, and anger too. I used to think anger was bad, something to control. But when I allowed myself to feel it, I realized it was saying something true. That boundaries had been crossed. That desires had been denied, that parts of me had been silent for too long. Listening does not mean agreeing. It only means acknowledging that you were hurt, acknowledging that you lost something, acknowledging that you lived against yourself for a long time. And that does not make you weak, it makes you real. When you begin to listen, things stop being black and white. Right and wrong are no longer clear. There are only choices and consequences. You realize you do not need to change your whole life. You just need to stop betraying yourself. Maybe it is saying no once when you always say yes. Maybe it is leaving earlier when you always stay too long. These changes are very small, but they have weight because each time you are telling yourself, this time I am on your side. I did not become a different person. I just stopped pretending. I am still afraid, still uncertain, still have heavy days, but I no longer abandon myself on those days. There is a strange kind of peace when you no longer have to run. Not because everything's okay, but because you stop fighting the truth. When you live like this, pain does not disappear, but it no longer controls you. It becomes part of the experience, part of living deeply. And from there, joy slowly gains depth again. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. Living with pain does not mean letting it control you. It also does not mean digging into it every day. It means no longer treating it as something to remove. We often think we must either be okay or broken, but real life does not work like that. Most of the time, you are just learning how to carry what has not healed. I used to try to fix myself, reading books, listening to podcasts, looking for formulas. But pain does not need a formula, it needs space. Space to exist without being corrected. Space to breathe. Space to be named. Some days I only say one thing to myself. Today you are tired, and that is enough. No forced positivity. No turning it into a lesson, just acknowledgement. And strangely, when I stopped resisting, the pain became lighter, not because it disappeared, but because I stopped pulling against it. Living with pain also means knowing when to stop. Stopping a conversation, stopping a relationship, stopping a path that no longer fits, not in anger, but with clarity. You do not need a big reason to leave. The fact that it makes you shrink is already enough. Your body knows long before your mind does. You just need to learn how to listen. There is a hard truth. Not every pain needs to be solved. Some only need to be carried, like a scar. It no longer hurts every day, but it reminds you that you survived. And you do not need to be ashamed of those scars. They do not make you less. They make you real. When you allow yourself to live this way, you start living more slowly, not because you are lazy, but because you are no longer running. You choose more carefully. You speak less. But every word has weight. And for the first time in a long time, you do not feel like you are abandoning yourself. For a long time, I believed that if life contained pain, then I must have done something wrong, a wrong choice, a wrong path, a wrong way of living. But the further I went, the more I understood something much simpler. Pain is not a mistake. It is proof that you have lived. There is no deep life without wounds. There is no real person who has never broken. We differ in only one way. Some people choose to look. Some people choose to turn away. Those who turn away often feel lighter at first. Fewer tears, less friction. But in the end, they are also the ones who regret the most. Because you cannot avoid pain and still keep meaning. You can only avoid both. When you accept that pain is part of the journey, you stop asking, how do I get rid of this pain? You start asking, what is this pain showing me about myself? And that question changes everything, not because it has an immediate answer, but because it brings you back to yourself. You begin to live more slowly, not because you are afraid, but because you care. You love more deeply, not because you are certain, but because you know everything is fragile. You speak more honestly, not because you are braver, but because you do not want to betray yourself again. Life does not become easier, but it becomes true. Maybe you are listening to these words and recognizing a pain you have avoided for a long time, a life you have not dared to live, a decision you have not dared to make, a feeling you have never allowed yourself to feel. If that is the case, I want to tell you one thing. You are not late. You are not broken, and you are not weak. You are simply standing in front of a door you have never dared to open. The pain you avoid is not here to destroy you. It is here to guide you back to what matters, back to what is true, back to yourself. And if today you are not strong enough to open that door, that is okay. Just do not lock it. If these words touched you, if you see yourself in them, stay with this channel. Press like if you want more deep conversations like this. Share this video with someone who you know looks strong, but feels very alone. And if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. Not for me, but because you deserve a space where you can live honestly. Thank you for staying until the end. And I hope that from today on, you stop running from your own life.